I'm always delighted to be with Saul Anuzis, who's been such a leader in the conservative movement and the Republican Party.
Welcome to the Saul's Newsstand News Rewind for April 1st, 2022. A new op-ed by Saul Anuzis states, "Price controls don't work on drugs or anything else." Prices for housing, cars, and food are rising faster than at any time in 4 decades. In response to this record inflation, policymakers have considered a range of reforms, but one solution hasn't had a hearing. Why doesn't Congress mandate price limits on every car, house, and gallon of milk sold in the United States? Because it's a ridiculous idea, of course. Price controls invariably lead to shortages and a downward economic spiral. Public officials generally recognize this fact, except in the case of prescription drugs. For some reason, lawmakers are as determined as ever to impose price controls on medicine. If they succeed, new state-of-the-art treatments will become rare. Despite the lessons of history, lawmakers in both parties keep advancing legislation that would artificially limit what drug companies can charge for medicine. The end result would be a dramatic decrease in production of new medicines. If pharmaceutical firms are guaranteed to lose money, investors would flee the drug sector and medical innovation would stagnate. We would strongly encourage you to read the full op-ed by clicking on the link in the description below. An article from the Daily Caller reports, obtained NRCC poll shows Nancy Pelosi is most unpopular Democratic politician in U.S. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi is the most unpopular national Democratic politician in the country, according to a National Republican Congressional Committee poll. Pelosi has a favorable rating of just 34%, while 58% of voters view her unfavorably. The polling shows a 13% drop in favorability in the last year, as nearly 47% view Pelosi as strongly unfavorable. In January, Pelosi announced she would run for re-election. Sources also told CNN that Pelosi is considering trying to stay in leadership after 2022, although House Democrats and Pelosi agreed to term limits for the top 3 Democratic leaders in the House. The agreement would stop her from another run at Speaker in 2022. And finally, Just the News reports, GOP conservatives balk at Biden's $5.8 trillion budget, say it will swell inflation, national debt. Conservatives in Congress are blasting President Biden's proposed $5.8 trillion budget for failing to deal with record inflation that is already stretching paychecks and family budgets. The inflation rate in February was 7.9%, representing a 40-year high. However, Biden's budget assumes an inflation rate of 4.7% for calendar year 2022 and just 2.3% for calendar year 2023. According to economic forecasts, March's inflation rate will be close to 10%. Despite the estimated deficit reduction from Biden's proposed tax hikes, the White House projected that the nation's gross debt would jump from $31.3 trillion to $44.8 trillion by fiscal year 2032 under the president's budget path. And that concludes your Saul's Newsstand News Rewind for April 1st, 2022. For more political news faster, visit saulsnews.com.